for a sign. Reaching out with both hands, I gotta feel the kick inside. Oh, fire! Oh, fire! Just falls in line. Oh, fire! Oh, fire, fire, fire! Hey! Ain't nobody living in a perfect world. Everybody's out there crying to be heard. But I got a new fire burning my heart, lighting up the darkness and moving like a meteorite. Oh, fire! Oh, fire! Oh, fire! Oh, fire, fire, fire! Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith. Now I believe. Oh, fire! Oh, fire! Oh, fire! Oh, fire, fire, fire! Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith.
Hi, welcome to ReneMarie Stroke of Luck. I'm ReneMarie, and we are going to have a phenomenal show today. And before we get to the show, of course, our telethon is 2 weeks away. I mean, we have 80 guests. I just lost my earpiece because I'm trying a new earpiece. I hope you could have heard me. We have 80 guests on our telethon. I don't want to scare Jim back in the Long Island studio. He's breathing deep. He's breathing deep. But, we really thought it was important to not say no to everybody this year. This was such a trying and uncertain life and year this year that we thought that it was really important to just join everybody together. Everybody was just so excited to be a part of this telethon. It really is a memorable time. We've been doing, this is our 6th annual telethon. It's on October 4th from 9 a.m. And I don't know if we're going to be able to end at 3. We're going to talk about that later on. But, and actually, I just set up, and I didn't tell anybody, this is broadcast to everybody, that we're going to have an after show. And we're going to really party and have a good time. And anybody that wants to stream in, and I'm looking to get a wonderful performer guest that will be live from his studio in Brooklyn. So we'll see if he is available. I just reached out to him. He's willing and able and wanted to be a part of the telethon. But I figured, oh my God, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. So we're setting something else up. Michelangelo got off from his job on Monday, so he's going to be in New Jersey on that Sunday, helping me with everything, doing the after show and all. So we got a lot going on, and this is really an important week because this is the week that I have to, gather everything and send it to Jim overnight in a flash drive. So we got a lot of stuff going on. We have so many wonderful guests. Mark McEwen, who is just an angel in the stroke world, is going to also be a part of this telethon, which I find that as a milestone in our lives, to tell you the truth, because Mark he's just a great guy. We've had him on our show a number of times, and he really does want to make a difference in the stroke world. And I will tell everybody that the mainstream of news should really have him back on that platform, because he is his mind hasn't missed one single beat. He may have a little impairment with his speaking, very slightly now, but that just shows us that we're all not perfect. And we all need to listen a little bit. Maybe that's the gift from Mark being on that platform, because you have to stop and listen to him a little bit. You can't just okay, and go on. It's not the regular, So I really believe that they should grab him and go back into the mainstream. And I will do whatever I can to help him to get there. But today's show is about mindfulness. And let me introduce my co-host. Hi, Judy. How are you today?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good. And we have Jim back in the studio. I don't know if we can see Jim. Jim, can we see you on the studio now? Okay. No, we can't. We can't see you. And then we have Ann, a returning guest and our partner from our foundation. Hi, Ann.
Hi, Judy. Hi, Renee. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
and then we have a wonderful new guest to our show. And God has appeared in our lives once again. As we were talking, this is the first time I met Toni Ann Riedel. Is that how you say your name, Toni?
It is, yes.
So Toni Ann Riedel is a specialist instructor in yoga, but she does some other types of yoga, which I'll have her share with you. She actually does feng shui, which we were talking about in the green room, the Zoom green room. We were talking about that as well. But it's so funny because as we were talking and Judy was sharing with me some information that she wanted to broadcast in the show, Toni.
And we have a lot
so
in common.
let's start out with that.
We have a lot in common, Toni, because I was the caregiver for my dad who had a massive stroke.
Yeah, there are so many elements of a stroke for the survivor: fear of having it again, loss of balance, brain function. But then, like you mentioned before, the 5 things that affect during and also after the caregiver. I'm one of them. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say, because I can probably say, yep, a lot of it is emotional, I have to say. So, to begin, we know stroke is caused something, it's a brain dysfunction. It disrupts the blood flow to the brain, area of the brain. And interesting enough, it's the second leading cause of death in the country. And according to the American Heart Association, this is overwhelming. By 2030, almost 4% of the population is projected to have a stroke. And it's going to cost, the related costs are about $183 billion. So some of the major risk factors, and I'm going to a cardiologist to make sure I don't want to have a stroke because I've seen what it can do. High blood pressure, diabetes, heart and blood vessel diseases, high LDL cholesterol levels, smoking, brain aneurysms, infections, including inflammation like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and age. So one of the things that comes out of a stroke, the 5 types of disabilities are paralysis or problems controlling movement, sensory disturbances, including pain, problems using and understanding language. My mother had a stroke. She was a speech pathologist. As an adult, she lost her speech. She had to start with the vowels. And I worked with her religiously every night till like 12 o'clock at night on to get back. Problems with thinking and memory, and then also emotional disturbances that, some of the other disabilities are treated with medications and pharmacology, but some of the mental health, the depression, the anxiety of the outcome of having a stroke. So here's where yoga and meditation help in the stroke recovery and also prevention. The benefits of yoga for stroke patients, some of the major ones, it improves mind-body connection, meaning yoga is therapeutic for stroke recovery because the intense focus and attention required. Each movement is slow and deliberate, and we start very slowly. If somebody can't accomplish the movement perfectly, the stimulation helps the mind-body connection because the brain rewiring, or the neuroplasticity, refers to the brain's ability to reorganize neurons in response to learning a new experience. So you can rebuild new neurons. And when you're forming new neuron pathways, it can even transfer to the functions that were once held in the damaged parts of the brain to new healthy areas. So the yoga and the meditation, that's one of the areas. It's going to help build new neurons and new pathways to help towards the recovery. And then it improves, the second one is improves balance, range of motion, and strength. One of the studies in 2014, it was a small group of 37 survivors, did yoga twice a week for 8 weeks. By the end of the study, it improved pain, neck range of motion, passive hip range of motion, upper extremity strength, and endurance, meaning they could walk longer. It built their endurance. So it included, the patients were guided through in this study, the yoga practice included postures, breathing, what we call pranayama, meditation, and relaxation while sitting, standing, or on the floor. Because a lot of the postures we can start, and it's interesting, with the balance issue, you can do yoga in a chair. You can use yoga standing with a chair to help for the balance. You can do yoga on the floor if that's comfortable and the person's able to get on the floor and lie on a mat. Many of the positions that help. Now, the third thing yoga helps with is improve walking and balance, because stroke survivors that suffer from mobility issues may experience poor balance and gait, meaning their manner of walking. The same study in 2014 showed that doing the yoga for 8 weeks, twice a week, improved both balance and gait speed. They were able to take longer steps with better coordination. And then the third one is it improves the mental status. I'm sorry, the fourth one. It improves the mental status, meaning when we meditate, people think, oh, I have to meditate for 30 minutes, an hour. No, actually, meditation is really sitting comfortably in a chair or on the floor, closing your eyes, taking a deep breath in with the eyes closed deep into the diaphragm, and then slowly exhaling that breath. And that's meditation. And
right,
we do it.
So, Toni, I have a question for you. So I think the title of the show is very good because it is mindfulness of
Right.
meditation, that you're in a mindful state. And then the breath really is about meditation. Am I correct? That's really very simple, that it's getting the different airs into the new air into your system. Am I correct in my line thought?
Yes. So when you're breathing deeply in, most times when we breathe, we're just breathing shallow, in through the nose, out through the nose. But when we're doing a yogic breath, we're really focusing on that breath. We're closing the eyes, being in the present moment, and it's filling the breath through the nostrils, filling the lungs deep down into the diaphragm, which is a little bit different because we don't breathe like that throughout the day.
Right.
And as we take a breath, say a 4-count breath in, we exhale that breath, and we like to say exhale for a count of 6 slowly. And what happens is when we're breathing, the breath touches the brain and slows the brain activity down, which slows the heart rate. And theoretically, when you slow the brain, the heart, it affects other parts of the body, such as your heart rate. You're not beating so fast. It affects cholesterol levels. It affects stress. Because a lot of stroke survivors, they have a fear of falling. They can get depressed because of language barriers, understanding people, feeling a little off, not as they did before. And I want to say the word yet, because they can improve. They can improve in certain different areas with occupational therapy and different things. And then at times they can fall into a depression. And the first thing that doctors do is, here, take an antidepressant. But there are other alternative methods, using meditation, using yoga, because it calms the body. So if we calm the mind, we calm the heart, we're calming the body and lifting up the good endorphins and the cortisol, which lifts endorphins that make us happy. That's why they say a runner's high. We call it a yogic bliss. Same effect. You're feeling good. Your body's at peace. And when somebody gets that fear of, oh, God, I'm afraid of having another stroke, I don't want to go through that again, that's the moment that we want to use the breath to calm our brain, calm our heart, because if we're anxious, our heart's going to be racing, right? So when we calm it down and we use our breath, it calms the entire body, from the brain, the heart, to the entire body from head to toe.
I have a question for you, Toni, though. Coming from someone who suffered, I don't know if you know this, but I suffered a major stroke over 30 years ago.
Yeah, I read about it. Yeah.
And it took me many, many, many years to understand what had happened to me. That fear part, yes, I get it. Like you just said that people are fearful of having another stroke. I didn't know I was fearful of having another stroke. I just had this uneasy trauma. I should have said it differently. I had this trauma which brought in this uneasy feeling, which I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to do. So my question to you is, there's someone who suffered a stroke and they come to you, and you're trying to explain to them the goodness that yoga would bring to them, but they're not understanding it. They don't get it, and I could tell you, I wouldn't have gotten it a long time ago. I wouldn't have understood that this calming, this was going to help me. I would have because at that point I was always in a rush, because my thought pattern was that my life could end any single time. I got to do everything I got to do, rather than
Right.
the peacefulness, the calm will allow me the balance to do that. So how would you approach someone that is in my state that I'm talking about?
So I guess the first question that came to my mind hearing you share your story and how it made you feel, and your own thoughts about it is, so tell me, has there been a time since after the stroke that you've had any anxious or an uneasy feeling within, different than before you had the stroke? Have you felt a little jittery? Every once in a while within your body you get an anxious feeling, or you just feel like you got to go.
Did your mother, did she have we didn't talk about this. So did your mom have a severe stroke, or like I don't know. So tell us a little bit about your mother's story, because that would help us to understand how you personally understood that person. And I agree with you. Each case is so different. Each case, right. Ann and Judy? Each case in a stroke world is a unique stroke. So you as the instructor would, and I know you know how to do this, you'd have to understand that stroke case before you can even begin to understand how to move forward with them. So tell us a little bit about your mother's stroke so that we can have some reference and what you did for it.
I was in my 20s, and she was actually at home by herself. I'd left for work, and I found out hours later she crawled to the phone. It must have happened around 8, 9 in the morning. She crawled to the phone, from what I understand, at 4:30, called a friend, and all she could say was the word Lermo. So her friend a block away called the fire department. They broke down the door, and they took her to the hospital, Winthrop, and I found out she had a stroke. She couldn't say anything. The memory on the left side of her brain was affected from the speech, and then she didn't have any present moment memory. She had long-term memory. That wasn't affected, so we could go back. But she had to start the vowels out start speech pathology, and she was a speech pathologist, from saying the vowels again. And she was in the hospital. This happened. She had open heart surgery at 52, a second surgery, and she had heart disease, mitral valve, because of strep throat, rheumatic fever, not heart disease in the family. And she had open heart surgery in, I think it was that June, and all she did with me was talk about death. We had to watch them for months and months and months. Then I could have been there at 5:30 in the morning. I was her true caregiver.
Right.
And they missed in the carotid artery test. Her blockage was in the carotid artery, and they missed it. So she had a TIA before the surgery, and they didn't think much of it. And then when she had the stroke, they realized it was in the carotid, and they missed it. So for the next 14 years, she deteriorated. She couldn't work anymore. And I took care of her because of certain heart issues, congestive heart failure, internal bleeding from Coumadin and things. I was always her ambulance in the middle of the night. And, she'd call me. I always wait till 10:30 at night. I don't know why. But, I was working full-time, going to school full-time, and I'd come home at 10:30, 10:45 at night, and she'd have me with the flashcards doing speech pathology till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. She got about
At least
75%.
she wanted to do it, though.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. No, she had occupational therapy, and then she did it with me. I didn't have a choice, but, yeah, you know, we'd work together. She got about 75% of her speech back. She had a beautiful, beautiful voice. She was a speech pathologist and a hypnotist, so she used both, and she actually used hypnosis with stroke patients in the hospital herself. She lasted about 14 years, but I can remember, you know, she had such a fear herself of almost like she was my child at the time. And I was only in my 20s and then 30s, and I was her true caregiver.
How old was your
mom? She called me
mom,
for everything.
Toni? How old was your mom when it happened?
She was 52. She died at 65. And during the time, while her health deteriorated, the heart valve outlasted her. But during that time, it was very frustrating for her. I noticed that even for her friends, they kind of, because she couldn't speak and she had now new disabilities, they kind of filtered away, you know, because it was hard for them to see her like this. So there was little depression. She definitely had gait issues. You know, I got a wheelchair whenever we went out. Gait is walking, balance.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She had balance issues. Gait was very slow, her walking. And she really had some mental depression, and she got anxious. And this was a woman that, when I grew up, yeah, she was 5 foot. She persevered. She was very stubborn. She had one hospital I was allowed to bring her to right before Thanksgiving. And I knew the routine for so many years. Bring the bag. They admit you. Well, she called me and told me to pick her up. I'm like, something's not right. She checked herself out, and the doctors were furious. They told me, don't bring her back here. Bring her to her own hospital next time. I was like, oh, my God, you didn't die now. Wait till you get in the parking lot. You're in big trouble. But, you know, and she looked at me. I was like, oh, my God, I'm mortified. And a couple of years later, it was funny, at a gym, a nurse said to me, I know that name. Did you ever bring your mother to this hospital? I'm like, oh, my God, I can't believe it. But, you know, it was really tough. It changed her entire life and my life, too.
Did you ever use, like, let's take the moment. First of all, I do want to I always like to grab a spotlight moment. On our last show, I think it was our last show, I forget what show it was, we spoke about with this gentleman named Peter Loveman, I think his name was, Levine. Mm-hmm. He spoke about, you know, and we always believe this too, that whatever you've learned in your life, you're going to utilize that. And your mom, she was a speech pathologist. So here, when she suffered her stroke, she was pushing you every night to work on a speeching. So that's a perfect pinpoint moment for people to learn that you need to educate yourself all the time about everything. You need to do certain things in your life because all those moments in your life will be utilized at a specific moment in time. And it did for your mom. And that is awesome that she was pushing you to do those speech pathologists. And then, you know, look what you're doing. You're making a difference in the world by using whatever happened in your mom's life to make the world a better place. So, you know, we're really happy that you're here. So what did you use in your yoga instructions with your mom?
You know, it was interesting. I wasn't a yoga instructor back then.
Wow.
I became a yoga instructor in 2008. I was certified as a fitness group instructor and personal trainer. So I got her a little bike and we would exercise a little bit because she wanted to move, and her cardiologist gave me permission to do little things. One of the things now is to always talk to their cardiologist and see what is okay to do, what is not okay to do. Certain contraindications, meaning things you can't do that could be compromising. So we listened to music, we danced, music therapy. I'd have her exercise. I didn't have the tools now. And one of the things I wanted to go back, you asked me, how would I know? You didn't know yourself that you had this fear or this anxiety maybe about having it. And I said, the question I would ask is there a difference within your being since you've had the stroke that you do get a little anxious or almost like a fight or flight experience within you? Because that's a key indication that there could be a fear, maybe of falling or having a stroke again. So what can we do for that? We would start with first breathing. And that is the first most thing, because as I said before, the breath, and I learned this from a couple of my gurus, and some other teachers that I've studied under, that yoga you want the yoga, at the end of the result, it's how it makes you feel. And then we want to use the breath, the pranayama of yoga, along with the meditation to calm the mind. You calm the mind, you calm the heart, you calm the body. So that is a much better way of managing it than taking drugs. And with the breathing and the calmness and doing the yoga poses, and as we call, not the runner's high, but the yoga bliss, that calming effect affects the cortisol in the body, which affects the endorphins, where you get that runner's high and you feel great. At the end of a yoga session, when you're doing shavasana, which is corpse pose, lying on the floor, you just have such a sense of well-being and at peace. You want to bring that from the mat into the rest of the world. It's funny, we laugh in class that, we leave class, we feel great, but somebody could cut us off and do something. And at those moments, yoga helps you to have more emotional control and reactions and be calmer and just look at the person and wish them kind of well with whoever they are. It's more about, people think, you do yoga, it's poses. It's more about the mind, the body, the spirit within. And it helps you feel much calmer, control the emotions, and allow that sense, especially and it's used in so many different chronic illnesses, acute, mental health, for anxiety, for depression, and it's used as a healing method. And the transformation from A to B within a period of time, after one meditative sitting in a chair moment of 5 minutes, and you build up to 10 minutes, and then maybe 15 minutes, and you can do it throughout the day, it just brings such a sense of calmness, which is going to affect the other parts of the body, too.
Did you use that with your mom? And then I'm going to ask Ann, because Ann hasn't had a chance. We've probably been yapping away if you have any comments on it. But did you use these techniques with your mom? Was it, you weren't, I'm sorry, you weren't.
I wasn't a yoga instructor.
Right.
But I did use breathing with her. We would breathe together. Right. And we would talk. And I would talk through it. The day she had the open heart surgery, I didn't think I could be at the hospital. And she made them on as they were wheeling her into the operatory at 5:30 in the morning. She made them wheel her to a phone to call me. Say, you could have been here. I'm like, oh, my God, you're too much. She really relied on me a lot. But you know what? I was her rock. And Judy, to your point, what you mentioned before, the 5 things and what happens to the caregiver, it takes a lot out of you. And in the workplace, friends of mine that have gone through, saw me go through this for many, many years, and they have family members, and either their mother or father was sick for a year or 2 years or 5 years. They didn't realize the impact until they went through it for the year. And it really does take, I want to say, it builds your inner strength, it builds your wisdom, it changes you internally, but it takes a lot out of you emotionally. And now, if I had the yoga, I would have regrouped and been able to. So using the breath and having other people in my life, I have a cousin that's been part of yoga and teaching meditations throughout the world for 40 years.
Wow.
She was a big help to me, her and her husband in the group. It helped me. So getting my own help, I was better able to help my mom.
Right.
But some of the other things, going over and going back, for the approving the walking and the balance, and then going back to the breathing. The breathing, especially during rehab exercise, when stroke patients struggle with movement, sometimes they hold their breath without realizing it. Even in exercise, this limits the amount of oxygen available to the body, which isn't good. So yoga places heavy emphasis on linking the breath to movement. So we breathe in, we move one way. We breathe out, we move another way. So it's breath in, arm up, breath out, arm down. So, and it helps.
Because I can't put my right arm up. I mean, I can, but it takes me a little bit of time. Sorry. That's okay. Are you there?
My phone dropped, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to know, is that important? Is that important to use the arms?
I'm just using it as an instance. If you move your head to the right, you breathe in. You move center.
Okay.
It's just as an instance of a body. Not that somebody has to do it, because what we want to do is help the patient or the survivor today. So in 8 to 12 weeks, because it's a process, while they're going to rehab, you get the health evaluation from the cardiologist, talking to the cardiologist. You start simply in a chair with breathing exercises and even helping the family member. So it's kind of like a partnership. And then they learn the tools. And I've gone through this myself with, this was stressful for me, and even some other things in life. The one thing that has helped me the most is going back to the breath. And then doing yoga, I'll stop for a moment, do a sun salutation, I'll do something to center myself.
Right.
So if stroke survivors, they practice and incorporate yoga and meditation breathing into their life, over a period of time, after the first session, they're going to feel, just with the meditative breath, a sense of calmness. And now they say, I have a tool, so when that happens again, let me talk to my doctor next time I visit. He's going to say, great, keep it up. Maybe we can wean you off of it. And then with certain postures, there are certain postures that build balance, strength, and stamina. So little by little, their balance is going to be stronger and more even, depending on the postures that we do. And then their endurance, their gait is going to be better. They're going to feel better. So with that also, doing both, their anxiousness, stress level is going to decrease. They're depressed, if they have any depression, or even a little bit, that's going to be reduced because they're going to be feeling better and more empowered in their life, and they're going to be creating neurons in the brain, new neurons, that's going to help in the recovery and replace the ones that were damaged. And it's all natural.
Yeah.
which is wonderful.
Important. Which is important.
Right.
We were talking about before, and I'm going to let Ann. Ann, you have a question for Toni?
No, I just think that her message is amazing. And, from the other perspective of it, being a family caregiver, I see how that can apply to family caregivers as well as the people that they're taking care of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And people in the workplace, where I was working at the time, they were wonderful with me. Absolutely wonderful. They were like, go to the hospital. I slept on my mother's bed from noon sometimes till 11 at night.
Wow.
Maybe I was a little attached to my mom, but, it helped her. It helped me.
That's okay.
And,
Toni, I spend 6 hours a day with my dad caregiving in the nursing home. 6 hours a day, every day for 3 years and 3 months. They actually told me to go home.
I know. At Winthrop Hospital, they were terrific with me. They brought her lunch, her dinner, me dinner, and the camaraderie. I would work. I'd go there after work. I'd clean her house, my house, do my food shop, her food shop. It went on for a long time. I think she died 14 years later. It was,
Wow.
and I think by the 13th year, I was so emotionally exhausted that I remember telling her, I can't keep doing this, I need help. And then the day she died, the ambulance came. Her doctor said she's going to die this week. And I'm like, wow, how did you know? And I brought her to Brookhaven Hospital close by, and they said, why is she here? I said, to die. And, I did hospice with her. I didn't even know I was doing hospice. But I think if I had the tools now, and I was a group instructor, and then it led me to Pilates, which I love, which then ventured me into yoga, which I'm a type A personality. You want me to do something slow and breathe? Well, it's the best thing I've ever done for myself, and it helps me live in the world easier. And then at the other time, I just met somebody not too long ago at a school, and he said, I have to take a day off. And I'm like, why? What's wrong? He's like, it's mental. The IT work I'm doing, it's causing effect. And I stood there and said, okay, so right now, let's focus on the breath. And I did this with him. He's like, wow, I feel a little bit better. So it's always going back to the breath. And it's a tool that we learn.
Right.
That can work in different parts of our life.
Toni,
and it's...
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go right ahead.
You wanted to know the 5 emotions?
I do. I'm going to write them down.
Okay. Before I tell you the 5 emotions, I just wanted to briefly mention what no one really tells you about caregiving. And it's just take a moment. Will we have enough money to take care of our loved ones? Will we have enough energy to make it through the day? Sometimes we feel like we don't. Will my loved one remember who I am? Why has all this responsibility been given to me? How long will the demands of caregiving last? And will people think of me? What would people think of me if I don't visit today? And the 5 emotions that you wanted to know. After the caregiving ends, relief. Caregiving is over. Those long sleepless nights are gone, and there is relief knowing that the one you loved and cared for is now pain-free. Sadness. The life you knew is forever changed. The undeniable reality, something powerful has happened. The forever transforming 2 or more lives. Guilt. Those what if I could have done something different moments, leaving us to wonder if we did the right thing, made the right decision about the loved one's care. Then comes the greatest guilt when you realize that you have to continue on with your life without the one you loved and cared for. We want to avoid this emotion as much as possible, and it is essential to reach out for help when guilt becomes a burden. The last two are acceptance. When you wake up one morning and tell yourself, job well done, and you will find the strength to live in the present. Acceptance is the most exclusive emotion to graph experience when caregiving ends, because your life has gone through an identity change. And the last is action. Life new blooms that need to be watered to bloom again. When caregiving ends, we have to find our comfort zone and take action to recreate our life.
You know, what I got from what you were saying, Judy, and this is true for all of us. Judy, Ann, Toni, even Jim in the studio wouldn't be here today if we didn't experience what we experienced in our lives, right? Judy, from your dad, that's why you're passionate about this. And you know, I'm going to give you an opportunity in 2 minutes to share so Toni can learn about what you do, because you're a caregiver as well, and that's why you started your business. And Toni, you as well. You wouldn't have been in, you know, meditation and yoga so prominently if your mother didn't. If you didn't experience what your mother was going through and find tools to put in your belt to be able to help her and help other people and help yourself. So it's just it's a journey. Life is a journey, and I hope that at this particular moment, everybody does not wait for something to happen to them before they understand the tools that you need to get through life. That is so important. And after September 11th, I was, I don't know if anybody knows this, Judy and Ann know this and Jim know this, but I listen to the other side and I hear what I should be doing. And I was driving, I remember driving down Lafayette Ave and hearing to myself, you got to do something so that people remember this moment. So then I turned and I went to my church and we did this big, what do you call it when all the faiths, for in town. Yeah, I forget what the word is.
Intercession or something?
No, intermediate or something. I'll think about it.
Intervention?
It had all the faiths in town, all the churches, all the synagogues. We all came together.
Oh, interfaith?
Interfaith, yes. We all came together for a moment. And I always hear from God and the other side, like, please make sure that people always remember that life is fragile and that you have to live in the moment and be kind to one another. And I always hear that. And that's, you know, one of my missions, to bring love into the world. But I always like it's so important. And this pandemic is really another layer of that, you know, for us to realize, no, we have, like, let's get all set in our place and let's remember what's important. So you're right in line with what you need to be doing, Toni, and you know, we're so happy that this God intervention that happened between you and Judy, because I said to Judy I wanted somebody that did yoga. It just blows my as much as I believe it, and I don't believe it, I know that these things happen, and that's the way life goes, and we're all open to it. It just I get amazed by it. I just get amazed by it. But I just want Ann to share. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Toni. Go ahead.
You know, Judy, when you said those 5 things, I have to say, as soon as you said relief, that's exactly how I felt when she passed. Oh my God, this weight has been lifted off. And then it was great sadness. I had no guilt because I did everything.
I felt I did too.
Yeah, and the last year of her life, I brought her around to Pennsylvania, all over, to kind of say goodbye to people. And then the other ones, acceptance and then action, moving on, because I was a young kid, And I remember a nun telling me, here's a good book for you to read. You're now an adult orphan. I'm like, an adult orphan? Wow.
Right.
But, I've caregived for different people, grandfather with cancer. I was always the caregiver in the family more than anybody else. And it kind of taught me compassion and empathy. And that's one thing when I go out through the world, I look at in other people and either see it or don't. But it really did change me as a person. And I really try to focus a lot on self-care for myself and taking time out and being healthy. I just went for a full physical. My doctor's like, you're great. The cardiologist said, your arteries, you are so healthy. Your carotid arteries are fine. But I want to get a better picture for you, because if there's something in there, it's going to show it to me. I'm like, it's your job, Doc. Make sure that my heart stays healthy and my brain. So, if there's simple things that we can do. Now, we do know for prevention, then I have to go. One of the high blood pressure is a very, very strong indicator in risk. And one of the things is yoga and meditation. There are studies out there, when we practice it, lowers your blood pressure. So if we're lowering our blood pressure, that means we're helping, because there's nothing guaranteed to prevent a stroke or heart attack.
Right.
So, with those factors, my website is, which I'm changing up a little bit, is yogafitnesslongisland.com. And anybody can reach me. My cell is 631-252-3012 if you have any questions. I do have another role in life, but one of my passions is being a 500-hour, I'm a yoga certified 500-hour yoga therapist. And being a yoga instructor is life learning. We're always learning, because there's so much to learn. And it can be used for different modalities: pain, multiple sclerosis, special needs, kids, anxiety, depression, rheumatoid arthritis, so many different modalities. But for heart disease, that kind of hits home with me big time, because of my mom.
Yeah. I want Ann to connect with you so that you could, because Ann and you would be very well together. Ann, just give us a brief, your business, what do you do with your inspiring caregiving?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a big believer in, your deepest pain creates your biggest gifts. And I had taken time off from work for a year just to take care of my mom, and a year turned into many, many years. And what I saw that was missing in my caregiving journey, I started to take on the practice in the end of my journey, were very spiritual and emotional components of the caregiving practice. Because when you're brought into the role of caregiver, if you're not emotionally and spiritually prepared, then you cannot be of service to the person that you're taking care of if your cup is empty. So what I recognized was two things. Number one is to take care of yourself before something happens to you. Take on these modalities, take on journaling, take on meditating, take on mindfulness, take on healthy eating, nutrition, walking, grounding in nature, take on all of these spiritual and emotional practices before you become ill, before something happens to you, so that your family members aren't in this position. And then there's the practical side. Make sure you get your advance directives in order, get your trust, your living wills, your DNR, all your wishes down on paper. And another component is to really settle the family origin of wounds within your siblings, so that when it does come time to take care of your parents, that you have a healthy unit that you can travel together. Playing the martyr and victim, I came out of my caregiving role. I was financially, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, completely drained. So I started journaling, and that's when I wrote the book. And for me, journaling is my detox. I was given medication for anxiety, for depression, for all of those things. I personally chose not to go that route. I went the holistic route, and I found that journaling was literally taking everything out of my mind, putting it on paper, and that was my medicine. For me, that was a form and a way of not only releasing the toxic and negative and low vibration energies that I had and putting them on paper, but also coming back to revisit them. And you can absolutely transform all of those negative energies into powerful components that work for you and the person that you're taking care of and for your family. I talk about guilt, I talk about fear, I talk about anger, how to transform them and to really look deep within at the messages that those emotions are bringing to you. They're just little messengers. They're actually gifts from God, your emotions. And when you stop and take the time to listen to them, then you can take a look at them. You can remove them from yourself, put them on paper, and it becomes so powerful because you can revisit it and transform it. So that's just the brunt of everything. Yeah.
Can we just share for a moment how Ann and I connected?
I love the way you tell that story. You tell the story. So, Judy, my internet is out and my phone is dying, so I want you to tell the story so I don't get cut off.
But hang on one second, because I think Toni said she has to go. Toni, do you have to
go? I do.
Okay.
And I need to get your contact information, but I'm sure I can get it from Judy, right?
Yeah.
Connect through Renee. Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
But let's do this. Let's continue this conversation. Judy, can you set up? Toni, would you mind coming back and doing another show with us? And maybe you could be live on it. We'd love that.
As long as Zoom works, I would love that too. Yeah, and Sunday mornings at 9 is perfect. Okay.
Perfect. So, Judy, set it up.
Got it.
Continue this conversation. And Judy, remember to talk about that story when we come on that show. Okay. Maybe
all right, you guys.
Into the blurb. Thank you, Toni.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You too. Be well. Namaste.
Have a great day.
Bye, Toni.
Thank you for all the information.
All right, thank you.
God bless. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
That's amazing to me how that all transpired.
It's just the most amazing part of it is that in connecting to find a Reiki, a yoga person, that I found her, and she has her mother that she was caregiving for.
Yeah, there are no coincidences.
You just sprung it on me that the next show you have to find someone who's into caregiving.
Oh, poor Judy. What I do to Judy. But you know what I love about Judy is she never says no. She never says no. Okay, let's do it. She hangs up the phone and she goes and gets whatever comes to my mind.
Or it finds her.
Yes, or it finds her.
I love when it works like that.
Yes. So we're gonna roll out. We're gonna close the show, and then we're gonna come back on as a trial test for the telethon, and maybe while we're on, we're going to try some different things. I'm going to try to stream through my Facebook as well. We're going to try to stream through my YouTube. We're also going to try and me to share the website to see if that doesn't kick us off. So there's a lot of stuff we're going to do. So we're really excited about the telethon. And let me share with everybody, our campaign, our donation campaign is up and running right now, and we really need your help and would love for you to give $10. You know, if everybody gave $10, God, what a gift that would be. If you're not donating to any organization through Amazon Smiles, hook up to Amazon Smiles. It's a way that you could help our cause or any cause, any 501c3 organization, but we really would like you to hook up with ours on Amazon Smiles. So if you use Amazon, go to Amazon Smiles and put ReneMarie Language of Love Foundation in the organization which you would like to support. It does not cost you any extra money. It's just that Amazon helps organizations. And then we also have, I just hooked us up to Venmo. Our Venmo number is 551-252-0312. Once again, our Venmo number, which you could donate in 2 seconds through Venmo, is 551-252-0312. Or of course, you can go to our websites, the ReneMarie Language of Love Foundation website, or the Language of Love Telethon website, and click on PayPal and go through that. But Venmo is such an easy thing. My kids send me money every 2 seconds to Venmo, and I send it to them, but they send it themselves. Anyway, so the number for Venmo is 551-252-0312. We're having wonderful guests on our show, and we are blessed. We are so blessed for this telethon, and this is going to be an incredible telethon, even though it's different. We'll compete with the Emmys are on tonight, right? The Emmys or the Oscars? What's on tonight?
We'll beat them all.
Are you getting an Oscar?
Of course, Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel's leading the way. Is it the Oscars or the Emmys? I forget what it is.
No idea.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll tell you next time.
Ann and I put your name in.
Always. Of course.
Always.
And the truth is, I don't want it, but it just brings some recognition to the foundation. That's really the bottom line. That whatever we do brings recognition to the foundation, which helps strokes and aphasia. We are bringing stroke and aphasia to the forefront of the news. And, and our motto is together we're lifting our voices and changing the face of strokes and aphasia locally and around the globe, thanks to Jim and all the social media outlets we have. So let's say bye, and we'll see you in a few. And we can't wait for 2 weeks. So let's go. On 3, we're going to blow our kisses. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everybody.
Bye. God bless you all.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Kind to one another.
Mi amor, yo no entiendo por qué tú más que nadie sabes qué pasó en mi vida. Yo no sé qué tú piensas, yo no sé lo que hay.